Richard Hartford had closed billion-dollar deals without his pulse changing. He had faced hostile takeovers, courtroom threats, and economic crashes with the same calm precision. Yet as he stood in the doorway of his mother's bedroom, staring at the fragile woman he barely recognized, he felt something no amount of wealth had ever prepared him for: fear. Not fear of loss on a balance sheet, but fear of losing someone while they were still alive. The room was immaculate, curated by the finest designers money could buy. Sunlight streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating priceless artwork and antique furniture imported from Europe. But in the center of it all sat Dorothy Hartford, 83 years old, hunched in her wheelchair like a forgotten ornament. Richard adjusted his tailored suit, custom Italian wool, flawless as always. His watch, a limited edition piece worth more than most people earned in a year, glinted as he checked the time. None of it mattered. "Mother," he said carefully, forcing patience into his voice, "you need to eat something." Dorothy didn't respond. Her cloudy eyes stared past him, fixed on nothing. Her once proud silver hair fell limp around her lined face. Hands that had once kneaded dough, pruned roses, and held her children trembled uncontrollably in her lap. Behind Richard, his wife Vanessa hovered in the doorway, stunning in her crimson evening gown. They were late for another charity gala, another night of smiles, speeches, and strategic handshakes. "The nurse will be here shortly," Vanessa said softly, though impatience crept into her tone. She glanced at her watch. "We really should go." Richard nodded, guilt tightening his chest. They had done everything right. The best doctors, the most experienced nurses, physical therapists 3 times a week, a private chef preparing meals tailored to Dorothy's every medical need. And yet, his mother was disappearing. As they left the room, Richard glanced back one last time. Dorothy didn't notice. She hadn't even turned her head. 3 weeks later, desperation finally cracked through Richard Hartford's billionaire pride. The nurses reported that Dorothy was refusing food entirely. She barely spoke. Some days, she didn't speak at all. One specialist suggested severe depression. Another quietly mentioned early dementia. For the first time in his life, Richard faced a problem money couldn't solve. That was the day Maria Rodriguez arrived. She entered through the service entrance, carrying a worn canvas bag filled with cleaning supplies. 48 years old, plain clothes, kind eyes that noticed things others overlooked. She had been sent by the agency as a temporary replacement for the regular housekeeper. The moment Maria stepped inside, she didn't admire the chandeliers or the art or the polished marble floors. She noticed Dorothy. The elderly woman sat alone near the garden window, small and forgotten inside a vast, beautiful room. "Good morning," Maria said gently, approaching with a warm smile. "My name is Maria. I'll be helping around the house." Dorothy's eyes flickered toward her, just briefly, then drifted away again. Maria didn't push. She simply began cleaning. As she worked, she spoke softly. Not questions, not demands, just observations. "The roses are blooming early this year," she said at one point. "There's a bird outside the window, bright yellow. My grandmother used to say they bring good news." Dorothy remained silent. But Maria noticed something important. She was listening. The next day, Maria hummed while she cleaned. It was an old melody, simple and gentle, the kind that lives in memory long after words fade. Dorothy's head tilted slightly. "My mother used to sing that song," Maria said, pausing. "She sang while she cooked, while she folded laundry. I never realized how much I'd miss it." Dorothy's lips trembled. "My mother sang too," she whispered. Her voice was rusty, unused. "I'd forgotten." Maria pulled a chair close and sat down so they were eye level. "What did she sing?" she asked. For the next hour, Dorothy spoke in broken sentences. Memories of childhood, summer gardens, pies cooling on windowsills. Small things, forgotten things. Maria listened, truly listened. That evening, Richard came home early. He stopped cold when he saw them, his mother animated, color in her cheeks, Maria sitting beside her as if they had known each other for years. Something shifted inside him. Days became weeks. Maria understood something no doctor had written in a chart. Dorothy didn't need more treatment. She needed meaning. She learned Dorothy had once been an accomplished gardener. So Maria wheeled her outside, describing every flower, letting Dorothy touch the petals, feel the soil between her fingers. She discovered Dorothy loved baking. Together, they measured flour slowly, Maria steadying Dorothy's trembling hands. The cookies came out uneven and misshapen. Dorothy smiled anyway. Most importantly, Maria gave her time. Real time. No phones. No rushing. She talked about her own life, her 3 grown children, her grandson learning guitar. She asked Dorothy for advice, treating her like the wise woman she was. Slowly, miraculously, Dorothy returned. Vanessa noticed first. "She's eating," she told Richard one night, disbelief in her voice. She asked for seconds, and she was humming. The next morning, Richard visited early. Dorothy sat upright, hair neatly pinned. Maria was reading poetry, Dorothy's favorite book from decades ago. "Richard," Dorothy said clearly, "come sit. This poem is beautiful." He sat, tears burning his eyes. Later, in the hallway, Richard stopped Maria. "What did you do?" he asked. "We tried everything." Maria smiled gently. "I just remembered she's still a person," she said. "Not a problem. Everyone needs to feel seen." The truth hit him harder than any business loss ever had. From that day on, Richard changed. He visited every morning, not to manage care, but to drink coffee and talk. Vanessa joined on weekends. Stories emerged they had never heard. 6 months later, Richard found his mother in the garden, standing with Maria's support, bending to smell a rose. "I forgot how beautiful they are," Dorothy said. That evening, Richard invited Maria to dinner. "You gave me back my mother," he said. Maria shook her head. "She was always there. She just needed someone to reach out." Dorothy took both their hands. "Thank you," she said softly, "for remembering that life is still worth living." And in that quiet moment, Richard Hartford, billionaire, dealmaker, empire builder, finally understood the greatest wealth of all. Not money, but presence, connection, and the courage to truly care.